and stuff.
Welcome in, everyone, to Fantasy Football Talk. Once again, I am Jack Neary. We have Matthew Scott with us today. How are you doing, Mr. Matthew Scott?
Good. Irish in Ireland, hot weather, went for a walk. We had the sun. Not every Irish person understands what the sun is. Bikini weather, beaches. It was, Irish people run towards the sun. It was a great feat to watch.
I like all that stuff. I like that's fantastic. All right, before we get started, we gotta, we always take care of our home, right? And the places that we talk about here. So the everydayfan.com is where you want to go for all of your fantasy football content. We are your main content creators on there. We have a few other guys too. And we're putting out a ton of information for you guys in the off season. That is everydayfan.com. We also have memorabilia. We've got wrestling. We've got college football. We've got NBA basketball that's been blowing up since the playoffs started. Right, Matthew?
We have, and on top of that, obviously our fantasy league. Both leagues are flying at the moment. Filled the first league in a couple of hours. And the second league, we've got 2 spots left. But both, both of our PPR leagues are very, very popular, and it's great to play against not only my fellow EDF fantasy writers, our boss, but also against fellow Twitter followers for EDF. See the different strategies and challenge ourselves against the different opinions we have on players to see who wins at the end of the year.
We do. We have a plenty of stuff going on. We do have 2 spots available. 2 spots left in our rookie league. So if you guys get in there, jump on our Twitter page, the EDF Fantasy Zone, and go sign up. Go sign up. We're trying to get a couple rookie leagues, a couple professional leagues, and absolutely a couple dynasty leagues as well. Super excited about that. Give our podcast, The Everyday Fan, a like or a subscription, and also give Shot of Jack Sports a subscription and a like as well, because we're pumping out everything for you guys. It's all about you. We put tons of time into all this and plenty of research. It's basically all we do. Today, we are giving you guys. You hear that? Do you? You hear that? That is the hype train. The fantasy football hype train is leaving the station, and that is what we are talking about today. Matthew, kick it off.
Obviously, we'll talk about. Obviously, me and you always talk about names that we like at the start of every year. And I think camp there's a lot of sophomore players and there are lots of players that are having comeback years at the moment. So one of the top names at the moment, and I know we've all been stung by this guy. Most people in the fantasy league have owned this guy at some point, but Joe Mixon is the main guy for me at the moment. In camp, he was described as the every down back. Giovanni Bernard is now with the Bucs. Back-to-back 1,000 yards, 2018-29 seasons. Didn't have a great 2020 season, but the Bengals didn't as a whole team. Joe Burrow went injured. He's looking good as well. He's looking good and he's looking strong in camp. But I just think Joe Mixon will be going high in fantasy drafts.
Yeah, in fact, so this is what the reports are out of Bengals camp. Mixon heading for a huge workload this season. And so just to give you an idea about his workload, his largest workload that he's ever had, right, was back in 2019. He had 278 rushing yards. He had 1,137 yards and 5 touchdowns. The 5 touchdowns hurt you a little bit. You'd like to have closer to 8, right? Gets you a better feeling. He had 35 receptions in that same year, 287 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he got you to the 8 touchdowns, but for 300 plus touches, you want 11 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, and obviously the big stat for me, and the reason why I like Joe Mixon more is the fact that Giovanni Bernard last year had 59 receiving targets, 47 receptions, 355 receiving yards, and three touchdowns. They're going to have to go somewhere. But this is the Bengals depth chart for running back. Joe Mixon is the undoubtable number 1. Samaje Perine is number 2. Trayvon Williams, Chris Evans was a rookie out of Michigan. Puka Williams was undrafted, and Patrick Jacks. That is an awful depth room for running backs.
Yeah,
Joe Mixon will take a huge chunk of the passing targets that Gio Bernard would have had last year and previous years.
So Joe Mixon's going off then, right? I mean, that's basically how we feel.
Yeah.
Now, is he a number one?
He's a number one at the Bengals, but he is a low-end RB1, high-end RB2.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So if you were to draft somebody like, let's say you went outside the box, and you took in the first, maybe your 10th or 11th pick, you took Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Would you be okay with taking?
I would put him just above Miles Sanders.
So you'd be okay with taking Joe Mixon then? If you took you took Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, you could take Joe Mixon. You feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a guy that's going to could really be late second round, early third round, which I'm happy with.
Yeah, I like that as well. So another guy moving up camp boards. Let's call it that way, right? Because we're just camping right now. That's what summer's for, right? Summer's for beaches and camping, right? Who doesn't love some camping, right? So Mecole Hardman is the clear number 2 wide receiver at camp, and he's making sizable improvements. Now, okay. So that could be coach speak. That could be a beat reporter trying to get an interview, right? Let's be honest. Right? We're on the outside here, but there is a little merit to this, and I'm going to tell you why. 2019, he had 26 receptions. 2020, no camp, by the way. We weren't allowed to camp last year. Remember? Camp was canceled. He had 41 receptions in 2020. Here's my prediction for 2021. 61 receptions, 860 yards, 7 touchdowns for the number 2 wide receiver in a Patrick Mahomes-led offense, and he's going in the 10th and 11th rounds. I'm okay. What do you want?
No, I think, like as I was saying to you previously, he's a guy last year that I drafted and I had high expectations for. I paid the price. I went for Drew Lock last year, paid the price, and I went for Mecole Hardman and paid the price. But he has plenty of talent. But my big issue is DeMarcus Robinson will always be that player that will have 3 or 4 good games. And when he's called upon, he has those big games, but it's not, the sample's not big enough for him to be fancy relevant below the back end of the rounds or the waiver wire. Cornell Powell's just gone there now, having a very, very good camp. Byron Pringle is a specialist, and Sammy Watkins has gone. So how much of Sammy Watkins' targets do you see Mecole Hardman getting? I'm
going to put on my conspiracy theory hat for a minute for you, right? For everybody that's listening out there, right? Here's what I believe. Okay, I believe that Tyreek Hill was brought in to be a nice player, a speedster. He's become a star, and he's very, outside of football, it hasn't worked out great for him. And I don't believe they want to sell Tyreek Hill to the fans in Kansas City. I know that Andy Reid understands that. That's why I think he brought in Sammy Watkins, hoping he can, drum up some of that speed and that star power that he had at one time at Buffalo, right? Didn't work out.
Well, Sammy Watkins is a good player, but his injury history is what's cost him.
Yeah, foot didn't work out. And then we drafted Mecole Hardman. I just believe that for a creative play caller like Andy Reid and an arm like Patrick Mahomes and 4.3 speed. Look, I understand that Tyreek Hill is 4.2, 4.29, 4.28, right? But 4.3 is not too far off. He's a better guy. He's more fan-friendly, and I think you could sell Mecole Hardman. And I actually believe that Kansas City and Andy Reid are going to try to not sign Tyreek Hill back again and make Mecole Hardman the guy. I really, in my heart of hearts, believe that. Maybe it's just me being nuts, a wacky, conspiracy theories, maybe. But maybe there's something to that.
No, Mecole Hardman's ability is undoubtable. He's a flashy player with a big play potential, but his issue is that he's a bit like Terrell Williams. He's dropped balls. He may not have understood the game as quickly as other players did. But if he clicks, he can be phenomenal.
Yeah, if Tyreek Hill goes down this year, Mecole Hardman's your number one. And I believe that they're going to draw up more creative plays for Mecole Hardman this year. I kind of feel it in my bones.
How much do you... I know the running game has been a big issue for the Chiefs the last couple of years. On the hype side, are you a CH believer? Do you think he makes that big step where Andy Reid believes that he doesn't have to rely on Patrick Mahomes as much next year?
So Andy Reid is, he coached the Philadelphia Eagles for the longest time. In Mecole Hardman, again, I don't see the man, but I do see the talent. I see a bit of Deshaun Jackson. I do. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the same respect, in CEH, I see Brian Westbrook. Okay.
That's my issue. Mecole Hardman can only make that step if there's the confidence in the running game. But the whole time but Andy Reid needs to help Patrick Mahomes, to help his receivers. Is the opposite of the Ravens. They need to have faith in the running game. But is CH the guy that can be the power back for them? I don't know if he is.
He's not a power back, but you don't need that to be that way because Andy Reid's never really had any power backs.
But no, the guy that, if you want to establish the run, is CH the guy that can do that? I don't think he is.
I think he could do too. I think you could get away with him having 260 touches on the season. And let's remember, let's also remember, he doesn't have to be because his quarterback before he came to the pros was Joe Burrow, who slings it 40, 50 times a game.
Yeah.
Right. And, his quarterback now is Patrick Mahomes. You don't necessarily need him to be a monster. You do need a running back, which he is, which does a great job fighting for extra yards, tiring the other opponent. As far as battering ram, monster kind of guy, a Fournette, a Latavius Murray, he'll never be that guy, and he's not that guy. But if he can fight for yards well enough like a McCaffrey, I think you're just fine.
Yeah, I just think he needs to put up good stats this year, but he needs to be more consistent every game rather than have 100 yards and then 20 yards, 80 yards and 30 yards, 130 yards, then 40 yards. He needs to find consistency.
Well, he hit a rookie wall too. Remember, he just finished the national championship, then went into the draft process. Never gave his body a second to sit down. I know he's a young kid, but let's be honest. He started off the season pretty strong, and then he was done. It was like, it's almost like playing X amount of, we'll say 13 games in college football, right? Then working out, combine, all this other stuff, and then you going right into the next season. If you look at it, CEH actually played well for 20 games. Well, like, he asked the man to play for 20 games and then train for it was just a crazy. I think he'll have a much better season. Speaking of running backs, as the hype train moves on, we've got Zeke Elliott, quicker and more elusive. Buy or sell?
Buy. I think last year COVID did affect him. The offensive line for the Cowboys was ruined with injuries. They had a lot of guys that were rotation guys there, and I think now they've got people like Zach Martin back again. Zeke returns back to the old Zeke. Yeah.
What's your expectation?
I expect him to hit 1-3 again.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have Zeke back to 300 plus attempts and over 1,300 yards. And I've got him.
I'm looking for at least 12, 13 touchdowns for him.
That'd be fantastic. I got him at 9, and maybe he catches a few through the air, and then we feel good about Zeke Elliott again. I think what feels the best about it is, if you're in a 12-man league, you're probably getting him in like with the 7th pick, and I've seen him slide as far as the 11th pick, and I'm like, wow, you guys don't think he's good at all, or you really think he's lost a step. I've seen Travis Kelce go ahead of him. I love Travis Kelce, but I mean,
I think Kelce in drafts every year, Travis Kelce does go super early. Mark Andrews would be George Kittle, and Travis Kelce will always be the 2 tight ends that will go in the first 2 rounds. But then you've got someone like Mark Andrews, who is the trusted guy for Lamar Jackson, will go in the 4th or 5th round. I would be far happier taking Mark Andrews in the 4th and the 5th rather than taking tight end or in the 1st or 2nd round. That's the logic for me. I think like Darren Waller, a lot of people are saying Darren Waller will continue to be a baller. Is Darren Waller a 2nd round pick? Is that somebody you really want, considering the fact you can have top wide receivers and running backs, do you really want to be taking your pick on Darren Waller? I would personally don't.
I don't. In fact, like I'm starting to warm up to the fact that I think I'd rather like Dallas Goedert in like the 9th.
Yeah, well, he's on my list.
That kind of feels good.
Yeah, no. But
what's your hype train? Give us some train news.
Right, I'm going to go for a rookie. I really like this guy, and he's in a good position. So Zach Wilson turned up to camp, brand new quarterback. Jets are rebuilding. Jamison Crowder has been re-signed to a team-friendly deal. We know what this usually means. It means that the Jets are rebuilding. They couldn't shift Jamison Crowder on his old contract. Team-friendly deal. Suddenly, he's a lot more attractive to other teams. Denzel Mims is looking good in camp, but Zach Wilson and Elijah Mitchell, if you see the videos of them, he is catching bombs. I just think Elijah Mitchell forced his way up the depth chart early into the season. And
Elijah Moore, right?
Elijah Moore, yeah.
Zach Wilson, I did see that the other day, that Zach Wilson is having a camp. And I mean, for all you guys that were talking Bustville, I mean, these coaches, they know. And whether he's
the rookie I would have. If there's any, I like Trevor Lawrence, but at the moment, from camp performances, I like Mac Jones, but I still think Cam Newton starts at least the first couple of games. But Zach Wilson is the rookie I would take.
Really? That's it? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. You're really putting that out there.
It hurts me to say it. It does hurt me to
say it. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Let's have the truth out there, right? I know that you're a Patriots fan, but the truth to the fans is that Cam Newton is the worst quarterback in that division.
100% fit for the first time since 2016. He is balling this year.
I know. I'm really fit too. I'm the worst quarterback in that division. I mean, it's the truth, like, I'm 100% fit and I've played basically the running back and quarterback position my whole career. And how old is Cam Newton now?
32, 33.
33. You're not 100% fit because you're not a 23-year-old Cam Newton. It's just look at, man. It's just the way it is. Hype train rolls on.
32. Yeah. He's
Zach Moss.
32. Yeah.
Zach Moss could take over the backfield in Buffalo.
Yes.
Now, Zach Moss, right? 112 carries last year, 481 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also gave you 14 receptions. So if you don't think he's athletic enough to catch the ball, gave you 95 yards.
He had 18 targets and he caught 14 of them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't count the targets. Those balls could have been out of bounds. Are you crazy? He's got to count the ones he caught. I had 100 targets last year. I caught nothing. 14 receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So if he is now starting to be the lead dog in Buffalo, all right, you're going to see those carries go. What you would have to say that he's probably going to get anywhere from 50 to 80 more carries.
Yeah, I just think the Buffalo Bills situation for me, Devin Singletary isn't the clear number one anymore. And I just think it's going to be, if it's 50-50, fine, I want Zach Moss. But I can see in games where Zach Moss has more carries and then games where Devin Singletary has more carries, but Zach Moss will have the better stats.
Yeah, and it's clear now that even if he's not getting touches, he's getting the touchdowns. Right.
Yes,
and
because he works better in the Buffalo Bills system.
Right. And he's a more downhill runner. I think Devin Singletary is more athletic, but I think you want the downhill style, the Frank Gore style, the Thurman Thomas for all you Bills fans from back in the day. Right. You want that kind of style in Buffalo when it starts snowing, when it gets sloppy, when it gets rainy. I think that, sometimes it's better to be a better football player than it is athlete in the sport of football. I think we can agree there, right?
No, I agree.
And Zach Moss is a better football player, maybe than Devin Singletary might beat him at all these athletic skills. But it just so happens Zach Moss can run through linebackers just a little bit better, and that's what matters at that position. For my money, I just really believe that Zach Moss should be rising. I think he's rising.
What value? At what point do you see the value of Zach Moss going too high? Because I know in drafts he's a late round guy. Was a late round guy last year. At what round do you go, no, this is too much for me?
Sixth. Sixth is too pricey. I think he's going to get all the way to the eighth. He's going in the 11th right now. I think they're going. This hype train is just starting to chug, right? We're just starting to move a little bit, and you're just gonna hear, oh, Moss got more reps than Singletary. Oh, he scored 2 touchdowns. You're just gonna keep hearing it. I wouldn't want him in the 6th, but I think he's going to the 8th. This train just started rolling, and those, I'm telling you, the Bills Mafia. Whoa, once they get going, Twitterville's going to go crazy. It's going to be Zach Moss, I think. And once we get there, the 6th might be too pricey. But if you're a Bills fan, don't be afraid of him in the 6th. Right?
My next guy is I'm going for a sophomore. And what I love about this guy is no one is talking about him. You go into draft boards, they mention lots of what the wide receivers, Jamar Chase is getting lots of coverage. Tyler Boyd gets lots of coverage, but people seem to forget about this guy. Yet he's had a phenomenal camp on the back of a great rookie year, which is T. Higgins. T. Higgins last year was 67 receptions, 908 receiving yards, 13.6 yards per catch, and 6 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, I know, obviously was the best rookie last year by far, but next year, T. Higgins pushes Tyler Boyd for wide receiver 2.
Oh, I think he is the wide receiver 2 there. T. Higgins is the wide receiver 2 there for sure. In fact, Joe Burrow preferred him over AJ Green. And it might be 1A and 1B as far as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins go.
But I think Jamar Chase is the man for me, and I was saying to my wife about this as well. I'm comfortable taking Jamar Chase in the 3rd round. I think he's going to be that good. But my Tyler Boyd value, I'm unsure of. T. Higgins in the 6th, 7th round, I'm happy with, but I keep bumping Tyler Boyd down.
Yeah, I don't want Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd has for me, he has no interest. There are many wide receivers out there that are piquing my interest. And Tyler Boyd, to me, he was a nice receiver out of Pittsburgh. He's had a couple nice seasons, and now what? I don't know.
I think the days of 1,000 yards are gone.
Yeah, without a doubt. And he's been banged up too, and he was never, this quintessential maniac athlete. Well, I had Joe Mixon on my list, but you stole him from me.
I did on the draft as well.
So I'll give you a quick. I'll give you a quick segment here because this is the fantasy hype train. But I would like to add there is Patriots news in this hype train. You got Belichick on Damian Harris. Okay, what he says, Damian works really hard, and he just tries to do whatever he can to help the team. He's got a lot of skill and can contribute in a variety of ways. There's something there. There's absolutely something there. Damian Harris could be a late round. Let's go.
Well, I had Damian Harris last year, and I'm happy I had Damian Harris. I drafted him last year. There is lots of news in the Pats camp that it's very unlikely Sony Michel makes the roster on the kickoff. And Rondell Stevenson is going to be the short yardage and red zone back. My big issue is how many touchdowns does Damian Harris get? I think he gets the volume, but touchdowns could be where he hurts people in the season.
Zach Moss or Damian Harris? That's where we're going because Zach Moss is going to start.
If Zach Moss doesn't get on volume, take touchdowns out, Damian Harris every time. But where he gets close is I can see Zach Moss getting more touchdowns than Damian Harris.
Can you see Zach Moss getting 8 or 9 touchdowns?
Yes. Can I see Damian Harris getting 8 or 9 touchdowns? I'm not quite sure, but I can still get him over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I think I'd rather Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss will give you north of 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. And that's just, and I like the offense better. I know I know you're a Patriots guy, but like, I can't. I gotta be honest with everybody here. It's just I just don't think New England's gonna have a very good offense. I think they're in the middle area of having a really good offense, and they're just not there. They haven't leapt yet. They're trying, they're leaping, they're getting there, just not there yet.
So you're not getting your 7th Super Bowl T-shirt?
I'm not. Maybe to clean the water off my car. I'm just being honest. It's not gonna be. So all right. So my last hype train guy. All right. He's a Jacksonville Jaguar. He went to the University of Colorado, and we're currently courting him to be in our fantasy football league. Right. His name is Laviska Shenault Jr. I really, the hype train is insane. Actually, he's hit 3 times on the hype train. Urban Meyer can't take him off the field. He seems to have a clear connection with Trevor Lawrence. The one-handed catches, stealing it off of 2 cornerbacks. Whether that means your cornerbacks are good or not, I don't know. But Shenault did a lot of this at Colorado. Yeah. Okay, he's got highlight reels.
And he had a strong rookie season as well.
Right, 2020 without an offseason, and going into the season, he had he had injuries going into the combine, still took part in everything. I like that. Hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm still going to compete. Last year came in a little banged up, 58 receptions, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, 18 rushes, 91 yards. Okay. Laviska Shenault Jr. is a dual threat player in a dual threat league. Yeah. In 2018, when he went to Colorado, he had 86 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. This is where it gets interesting. 17 rushes, 115 yards, 5 touchdowns. He takes those end arounds and those jet sweeps and stuff, and he's not a Ruggs. He's not a Hill. He's not a Hardman. He's not a speedster, but he runs it like a running back.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think the Jags offense next year could be dynamic and could be exciting to watch. Because I just think James Robinson, I know from obviously the news, from what I'm hearing, James Robinson will still be the main guy. But Travis Etienne, it is impressing Urban Meyer with his pass catching skills at the backfield, so he's going to have to play a part. You've got Marvin Jones just come over, and then DJ Chark is back to 100% as well. There's lots of targets, lots of opportunity. They can establish. James Robinson could establish a running game last year, but I think having Travis Etienne and James Robinson as your 2 running backs is far better than what they had last year.
So here's how I feel about this. I feel that Shenault will get north of 100 touches. I don't know whether there'll be receptions, whether there'll be rushes, but I don't think you're going to be able to keep him off the field, because what he does is he tires out another team, and that's the type of player that, Urban Meyer wants a guy that goes to war. That's just, it was no mistake that he went with a quarterback that had better leadership skills than passing skills, and that was Tim Tebow, right? There's no mistake he does those things. If you're going to go out there and plant a flag, it was rumored that Urban Meyer was coming out of way earlier to coach Baker Mayfield. That was a rumor, because he wants a guy like that, and Laviska Shenault Jr. is that guy. He's tough. He's hard-nosed. He's going to get you all the tough yards. And for me, I don't know if the hype train even moves his name. Like Hardman's name, Elliott's name, all these Mixon's name, it might move. And he could get buried in the news. And I think if you're going to draft a couple wide receivers that have names, maybe you draft a guy who's going to have the season.
No, and his value where he's going to fall, I definitely would take him. Now, I know, obviously, as we're on hype, Tim Tebow wasn't invited to the tight end university. Travis Kelce said, why would I invite a guy that's just come out of retirement to play tight end? From you, what impact does Tim Tebow have this year?
None. Tim Tebow he's not going to have any impact. No, he's basically going to be running, the practice squad for Urban Meyer, because he knows what Tim Tebow just wants to be a leader. He doesn't get to be a leader, in the baseball clubhouse. right? He doesn't necessarily get to be a leader, talking about college football. That's not his MO. He just wants to be a leader. And maybe he's not a leader on the first squad, but you know what? He is on the third, and Urban Meyer knows what he's going to get there. So he's a practice squad player who just wants to, kind of relive some of his days. No, really. And what's up? What? I just think there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think he has an impact on the football field. And, he wasn't invited to tight end university. You know what? Oh, that was I. Were you? Did they invite you?
They didn't invite me, no, but I'll get it next year. Don't worry.
Jerks. They're jerks.
So
clowns over there, tight end university.
My guys that I've got, the next guy I really like, going back to wide receiver, is Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs has had a phenomenal camp. Last year, we know that obviously injuries, him and Riga came in, big expectations, and injuries, learning the system. Offense wasn't great. The offensive line for Derek Carr wasn't great. They've went in and they've rebuilt this offensive line. But I just think Henry Ruggs makes that big jump this year. I trust Ruggs a lot more than I trust Jalen Riga this year. So for me, I want to be taking Henry Ruggs middle of the draft.
Really? How high?
I wouldn't mind taking him in 9th, 10th round. Back end of the
Chenault Jr. or Ruggs?
I like Chenault more, but it's the fact I know what Derek Carr is.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr, if he has chemistry with somebody, he's going to look for them. And I just think Ruggs gets tons of targets.
No, and you're right. He might. For me, Trevor Lawrence has been the number one. He's been the number one talent in the country since he was scouted back in high school. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to hit. Jacksonville is going to be very good. And
plus there's less. I just think the picture. I know we're hearing about Brian Edwards being, built up. He's put some muscle on. He's going to be involved in more 3 tight end sets. More 3 and wide receiver sets next year. But I don't believe the Brian Edwards hype. But no? I do believe the Henry Ruggs hype.
I mean, Brian Edwards was basically a 19-year-old walk-on at South Carolina. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is, but I just don't know. There is obviously the step up from college to the NFL is huge, and you can be great in college, but then you're mediocre in the NFL. Great if he has a 10-year career at the Raiders, brilliant. But I just don't think he has the high-end potential that Henry Ruggs does.
Ruggs or Judy?
Ruggs, because I like Carr more than Locke.
Okay. All right. Well, no, that's a good explanation then why. Yeah, if you like Carr better than Locke, I completely understand. I will not fight you there.
Okay, and then my last guy I'm going to go with is a guy we both like. So Darnell Mooney. I do like the Chicago Bears quarterbacks room is a mess. I know it is. Andy Dalton, Matt Nagy has made it very, very clear he wants to start Andy Dalton. He brought him in to be the starter. Justin Fields will want to start. Will Justin Fields settle for, I'm going to be on the bench for a year if the Bears are bad? I don't think he will. But Anthony Miller is on the trade block, and he's on the guy that there's lots of rumors that he could be cut. Unless he has a good camp, but I don't going to get halfway camp. Unless he's shown massive signs of improvement, he could be cut to clear some cap space.
Yeah, he's gonna be cut. Is there any rumor that Darnell Mooney dropped 1-0 if he starts going off in his name? So he'll be called Darnell Money.
He will be on the money. If you look at his stats last year, Darnell Mooney last year was 98 targets, 61 receptions, 631 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I think he can get at least 120 targets next year.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
How many catches? 80?
I'm going to put him at the 90 mark.
Wow.
Not all of them will be for big yards, but he is reliable. And as we all know, the Allen Robinson extension Bears struggling to get him to sign up for the long term, 1 year tender. If you're the Bears, you take what you can get for him now.
Speaking of, you got some Bears news for you, don't you? Got some news.
We do. I mean, we the situation obviously at the moment, big news that's all across Twitter, all across the NFL is there are 2 players that teams are struggling to sign on an extension. The first one is Allen Robinson with the Bears, and the second one is Chris Godwin with the Bucks. Now, both you'll get high draft picks for. The Bucks, to keep the 22 players from last year, haven't got much cap room, but we know teams can work cap room into signing bonuses or move it down the line later on.
Yeah,
but Allen Robinson, I don't believe wants to play for the Bears.
No, he and you know what? Maybe he never did. He just wanted, it went from one bad situation to another.
He went from the Jags to the Bears, yeah.
Right, and although the storybook organization of the Chicago Bears, they just haven't materialized. They haven't done much for their fan base in the past couple of years. They've been around. We went to the playoffs, we missed a kick. Like, they've been around, but they never really felt like, no one's really put them out there. Like, the Bears felt like they were on the cusp of doing what Cleveland did, and then they drafted Mitch.
There was belief they traded up for Trubisky because they thought he was going to be the man.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, they thought the man who was a backup at a basketball college, which is North Carolina University, they thought that the backup at a basketball school playing football was going to be the man of their franchise. By the way, they have kept that general manager.
Yes.
Okay.
They traded up for Justin Fields on the basis of if this goes wrong, he's gone.
That was good, though. That was a good trade. I actually liked that trade up. That made sense. You got Justin Fields at a discount, and if he works out, you look smart. You were and by the way, Justin Fields started at a college football
Ohio
school.
State, yeah.
Ohio State, right? Yeah. You see how you were a backup at a basketball school? It's very confusing to me. Maybe if I went down to the local pub and hit myself with like 20 beers and a hammer, I would have drafted Trubisky.
Justin Fields fell in the draft. I know a lot of that he splits people. Some people say, he didn't deserve to fall because he looked good. But I know we were discussing him leading up to the draft. He's got his double hip movement, and he's overemphasizing passes, and he likes to make risky passes. Do you think that Justin Fields is going to be huge? Do you think he's going to be the guy, the face of the NFL, or do you think there are things he has to work on that could be glaring in his first couple of years?
I'm actually glad that he dropped, because he seems to play better when he has a chip on his shoulder and people don't believe in him, which is exactly what happened. So I think that if he got drafted a little bit higher, not that he wouldn't have worked hard, but I do believe that this extra incentive, where he's out to show everybody and he's working hard and obviously he's got a tough coach. I think that bodes well for him. I think that's exactly what you wanted. Do I believe that, that he's going to start game one? No. Do I think that he'll start after halftime of game one? Yeah. We know what Andy Dalton is. We know that Matt Nagy doesn't like the media and he doesn't play them well. But if you go on to many ranking sites right now, Justin Fields is projected to score 246 fantasy points.
He's huge in Dynasty at the moment.
But he's projected to score 246 fantasy points as a quarterback this season. Okay, Andy Dalton's projected to score like 72. So you tell me, does nobody know what they're doing? They just lost their head. Matt Nagy he's been quoted as saying there is no way ever that Justin Fields is starting the season. To which I've been on Chicago Bear, threads on Twitter asking if there is no way, no circumstance that he can start, then what happens if Andy Dalton gets hurt in camp? Is the kicker throwing? Who's throwing? No, I want to know who's going to be throwing the ball. And Matt Nagy still won't answer me. He still won't answer me. Who's going to be throwing the ball? What if Andy Dalton tears his rotator cuff? Is David Montgomery going to hand off to himself? What is going on here, pal?
I just think for the Bears, I don't see them making the playoffs this year, regardless if they start Justin Fields or not.
No, they're not going to make the playoffs. Are they? Do they have the opportunity to be second best in the division. They do. They do, because Green Bay is just, it's scattered papers right now. They don't know.
But Jordan Love has had some bright spots in practice where he's looked good.
Yes, but it's all scattered papers. We don't even know if we like him. We really want Aaron Rodgers, but we don't really know if we don't love Jordan, but we might need Jordan. It ain't Michael from Chicago, so we're even more nervous. Detroit, I don't believe in at all. I know that Dan Campbell's gonna suit up if they start playing bad. And then really the most stable franchise in that division, right, is Minnesota Purple.
Yes. And I think the Vikings, Justin Jefferson alone, makes them a contender.
Sure, he does. Yeah.
Delvin Cook makes them a contender. Smith has a big season. Thielen is great in the red zone.
Really, I just think makes them to defend a contender, because
Alexander Mattison is another guy that's good off the waivers when you need him.
Right. I don't care if you throw for 300 yards a game. If you throw for 294 and you threw the final touchdown, that's what kind of matters to me.
So what's if you're the Bears GM and Allen Robinson's not signing, what's your next? What are you looking to do? How are you working the market?
I mean, I'm looking to move him, clearly, but it's a little late for that. You knew we didn't want to sign during the draft, so you made a mistake there.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're way down the line. I mean, what are you trying to even get for him? You don't know.
I'm going to go Michael Thomas to the Saints. Try and get
Thomas.
Try and get him to the Saints and get Michael Thomas. We know that, and I know I said this earlier in the year, there has to be something there because those disciplinary issues. We know what Michael Thomas can be like at the best of times when he throws his dummy out the pram. I don't like it. It's not my way. Yes, he's a great player, but do you really think Sean Payton wants Michael Thomas around when he's going to cause issues for him?
I don't.
When you can get Allen Robinson that plays bad with bad quarterbacks, but is a good player and he's good in the dressing room.
And the more you keep saying that, the more I actually like that. The more you keep trying to say, like, listen, there is a rift between Sean Payton and Michael Thomas. The more I think about it, you're right. And he caused the rift almost over nothing. And, if Jameis Winston, they start losing games, there's going to be more of a problem. I might as well just try and get Michael Thomas out of here for Allen Robinson. And do I really believe that I'm getting a completely different athlete? No.
But I think Allen Robinson I know there are. Could Jameis Winston turn the corner?
No.
You have no faith that Sean Payton can work with him. He can turn that corner and he can be a better quarterback. He's been a starting quarterback. We know he has an arm. We know he can put up touchdowns. If Sean Payton can work with him and reduce his interceptions, improve his game decisions, he could surprise people.
But his interceptions aren't because of his arm. His interceptions are because of his brain. His interceptions are because he can't make NFL decisions quick enough, right? So Sean Payton's offense, by the way, and their buddies, isn't much different than Bruce Arians' offense. Okay, and Bruce Arians, you could tell whether he likes somebody or whether he doesn't like somebody. Yeah. And he wasn't a jerk to Jameis Winston, but when they asked him, "Oh, is he going to be your quarterback next year?" He's like, well, we'll see. Like, we'll see. Am I going to be an employee here next year? Like, do you want me to stack the shelves? Do you want me to, wash the car? Yeah. What, is it okay if I still drive truck for this company? And they go, well, you know what? We need a pair of hands behind the steering wheel and feet that push the gas pedal. That doesn't say very much about me. Right?
No.
I didn't bring donuts in for people or any of my crab legs. I obviously insulted an Uber driver in town. I just don't think Jameis Winston is a leader. I don't think I think that he might have what some people think, because he went to Florida State, a better football pedigree than somebody like, a Baker Mayfield, but they're wrong. And everybody just wants to sit here and go, well, he's got to be a good quarterback.
Well,
why?
can he be serviceable? That's the big question.
No, because he loses you games. He actually wins. He's done this. He's won you a game in the first half and then lost you a game in the second half. He threw 3 touchdowns and 320 yards in the first half.
Nick Foles has done that plenty of times.
Huh?
Nick Foles has done that plenty of times.
Nick Foles isn't a starting quarterback.
I know, but Nick Foles at the Bears has done that, but he's expendable.
Nick Foles has never thrown for 300 yards in first half.
Look at the Eagles run, the Eagles playoff run for the Super Bowl. Right.
And that was a run, and Nick Foles is much smarter than Jameis Winston. He's a basketball player. He did certain things that worked for him. If you watch a lot of that run, it was all fadeaway throws. It's almost like a fadeaway shot. I don't believe that Jameis Winston's a starting quarterback. There was a big thing on NFL Live the other day. Is it going to be Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill? Like, what do you mean? What? We're still here? It's July 10th. We're still here. You know who it is? It's going to be Ian Book. Book that. It's going to be the kid from Notre Dame who made his teammates better, who made Notre Dame look good and respectable. And I'm telling you that they drafted that kid, I think it was back end of the 4th round, because he reminded Peyton of Breeze. And Breeze, Drew Brees, Drew Brees never had a killer arm. Neither does Ian Book. He's about the same height. And I'm telling you what, that kid's going to learn the offense. And by week 9, you're going to go, look, Ian Book's taking the field. They don't know who the quarterback is there. And he's going to win a couple games. And he's going to have the leadership of what he learned at Notre Dame underneath his belt. And that's what I firmly believe. I think he takes over the job.
And the Chris Godwin situation, this is another one as well. So 2 potential players. If you're Allen Robinson with money, him at the Bucs would be phenomenal, but money's an issue. You know, there's only so many good players they can have.
Sure, yeah.
But I know if you put someone on the field like Calvin Ridley, you know, Juju was good because AB was on the field. Mike Davis, we know, is a good player. We know AB's a good player. But Chris Godwin fits well into that system. If you take Chris Godwin out, who do you put in?
In Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
I mean, what was the name of, we were just talking about it before air.
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson. I think Tyler
Johnson is there as well, but they're not Chris Godwin standard.
Well, who knows? Because I think Tyler Johnson would be just fine. Tom Brady whipped a ball over to him, and it was basically just because he liked the route and he liked the defense, and he was like, he threw it so hard that he was like, if the kid drops it, I'm just gonna scream at him. He threw it so hard that as he caught the ball, the guy fell backwards into this, and Tom Brady went. He just pointed at him like, that's what you were supposed to do. Excellent job. And Tyler Johnson, I mean, it was a crazy catch. And I really believe that Tyler Johnson could take that spot. He was very good at Minnesota. Is Chris Godwin generational? No. You know?
And what kind of markets would you see Chris Godwin in?
I know that New York really took a swing. You know, the Jets really took a swing with Corey Davis because he's on a budding star. But I would like to see Chris Godwin in a market like maybe the Jets. I think he would work there. Detroit doesn't have much going on right now.
But this is one name that didn't quite make my list is Terrell Williams is 100% for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah.
He is looking very, very good in camp. We know, obviously, from the Chargers days, he's had 1,000-yard season. He's had just under 900 yards. He missed the whole of last season with the Raiders due to injury in camp. I think Terrell Williams is a player that I would be happy to take the back end of the draft. Rashad Perryman has injury issues, but he's a guy that can have a big game from time to time as well. I think he fits well in there, but I think Terrell Williams would still be the man.
Yeah, I would take him over a kicker for sure. Maybe over like a Tucker or a Buckner. I think I would. I just look at Terrell Williams. He was fine when he was playing for the Chargers, but he just never materialized. And they weren't sad to see him. I'm going to free agency, and they went, okay.
Later on, yeah, bye, yeah.
Here's a bottle of water. It's not even Dasani. It literally says bottled water on it. They hand it to him, and he walks. I'll show them. I'll go sign with Detroit. and they were like, oh God love his agent. You know, they never really cared about him leaving. And, you know, for me, that's why he's not a hype train guy. You know, there's a couple other guys that popped up in the hype train, and we kind of pushed them aside, didn't we?
We did, but I know that there's always one player that I look at and go, I want to get on that hype train early. Terrell Williams is the one guy that I want to believe in.
Okay, you want to believe, but you don't.
I'm forcing myself to believe in Terrell Williams. There will be some drafts that I do that I go for Terrell Williams.
That's like selling a love seat and calling it a couch. It's not a couch. It's you just didn't pay for the extra part of it.
I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to take a risk in some drafts and hope he pays out. But
yeah, well,
I think the new scenery for him, Jared Goff is a wide receiver friendly quarterback. He can be an accurate quarterback, but I just think this could be for him a restart for him in his NFL career.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's beautiful up there in Detroit, right? They got trees and they've got factories, and I'm telling you what, in the springtime, nothing shines like Detroit.
And my last guy,
that's all we have for our hype train, fantasy football hype train, Shot at Jack Sports, everyday fan content. Go there, everydayfan.com. Go check us out. Right, we've got all these guys headed up there.
Yeah, we've got great content there. We'll put more content on over the next couple of weeks as well regarding late round picks, early round picks, who we like, who's got good hype. So there'll always be good content on there leading up to the drafts, which I believe our draft is the first week of September.
Yep, that's what we're doing. We'll midweek because we have Labor Day coming up, you know. So.
Yeah. But we'll have plenty of time to do mock drafts, give you information on players that are going up and down the board, breaking news to help you make the best draft choices you can make.
We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Jack. See you. Bye.
Yeah.